Hello, my finest friends. Welcome to another Retro RHLSTP, back to sometime in 2022, where I was talking to Jamie Demetriou, the fantastic comedy actor, turning up in lots of films and exciting projects then and now as well. One to keep your eye on if you weren't already. Stath Lets Flats is something you should really have watched if you haven't already. Anyway, look, support us if you can. Become a badger at gofasterstripe.com/badges. You can get ad-free podcasts. You can get the podcast a day early. You can get all the videos straight away. You can get if we do a video, not all of them are filmed these days, and you get badges. You get all sorts of stuff. Entry into free prize draws. It's incredible. gofasterstripe.com/badges. Come and see RHLSTP live. richardherring.com/RHLSTP. We're up at the Edinburgh Fringe, and we've got lots of tickets to sell. And my flat costs £7,000, so we need to sell, I think, 100 tickets a day just to cover that. Anyway, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy Retro RHLSTP. Full video for free if you want to watch it on YouTube, if you're listening to this, or you listen to the audio and have some ads in, and we make a tiny little bit of money every time you listen. Thank you very much. Now go sit on it. Barbara.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leicester Square Theatre. Please welcome a man who's recently spent 3 hours at a children's party and is still exhausted from it. It's Richard Herring! Thank you very much. Hello, my fan friends. Welcome to another episode of Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast. I was hanging around with Hufty from The Word this week. Remember Hufty? The word, remember the word? She calls it RHLSTP, so that's she's good old Hufty. I was a party. Both my kids went to a party at the weekend. It's 3 hours is too long for a children's birthday party. Do not do that to the parents. Some people didn't turn up for the full. I stayed for the full 3 hours. It was loads of kids in one hall with a bouncy castle that wasn't quite big enough for the number of kids there were. And there were kids of all different ages. It was sort of like being in Lord of the Flies, but a bit worse than that. And all the kids had these as well. So they were bouncing for 3 hours, blowing that. And then I was worried they were going to hit their heads wrong and swallow that and die. It was awful. And after an hour, you'd think, fuck, there's still 2 hours to go of this. And a period of time has passed that is equal to the amount of time I've been on Earth so far. At least it felt. When we emerged at the end of 3 hours, it was 24:39, and super intelligent otters were ruling the world. That is how long it was just 3 hours for us, but the rest of the universe. That's the other way around, isn't it? Never mind. But don't have kids, is what I'm saying, is the answer to that. But though my son at 6:30 this morning basically woke me up with the question, do ghosts have bum holes? That was my son's question this morning, which is an absolutely excellent emergency question. It's quite a hard one. There's more to it than you think. So I'm going to be asking every guest I have from now on about that. I do have to thank the Kickstarter backers who have paid to have their names in the shows. Ben Lowry and the team from Eggbox Imaging. I was going to say imagining. It's easy to imagine an egg box, not for me. I can't imagine anything. Eggbox Imaging, feel free to call me a fucking idiot, says Ben Lowry. You are an idiot. Stop imaging egg boxes. Get on with a proper job. Mark David, he wants to say hi to my pesky kids, Claire and Fred grow up. What is this? Not a swap shop, is it? Not saying hello to people's children for money. And Dan Powell, and there's the one thing there was a little thing to fill in, say, what do you want me to say? And Dan Powell has just written helicopter. The funny biggest laugh of the show so far from Dan Powell. That was not as big as Ghosts Have Bum Holes. So thank you to everybody about that Kickstarter. Thank you very much for everyone coming along. I think we might as well crack straight on. Why not? I'll do that in the next show. I was going to do a funny bit. My guest, it's going to be a funny bit. I'm not going to. My guest this week is probably best known for his portrayal of Mikey Dawson in Hoff the Record. Hoff the Record. David Hasselhoff, I think, is in that. We'll find out. Will you please welcome Jamie Demetriou, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is from Hoff the Record. Welcome. Come in, sit down. Shake hands if you like.
Hello.
It's Jamie Demetriou. Off the record.
Well, David Hasselhoff had water on his knee, as he told me a few times, and that's my main memory of that.
Must be. Once you'd worked with David Hasselhoff, you must have thought, that's it. I'm not going to meet anyone bigger in show business than that. I might as well give him.
I mean, he did feel extremely famous to me. like you feel it, and you feel it on your back.
Yeah.
Famous. Like, I know you in a way I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who I can only picture running in topless.
Brought the Berlin Wall down as well, of course, David Hasselhoff. So
He's done it all.
Looking for freedom.
All with water on his knee.
Yeah. Do ghosts have bum holes, Jamie? Is my first question. What do you think?
Did you say that off stage? Which gave me a sec to think about it. I think it's a chicken or egg question.
Do you think so?
Do bumholes have ghosts?
Could be.
I think if ghosts are what people say they are, which I often think is something they're saying out of their bumhole, I guess if they are inhabiting the core features of the person who's passed away, I think that our bumhole is a core feature of all of us. And
often ghosts go a bit sort of like sheety towards the towards their nether regions. They're kind of right here, aren't they? And they sort of turn into a sheet as it goes.
I actually take offence to that. No more pigeonholing ghosts as sheets.
They're sheeting.
Imagine when you died, you turned into a sheet with eyes. What kind of plan is that from God? Just like, honestly, I cannot think of anything, and I am in bed right now. Sheet. Well, how's it going to see? Eyes.
And a little bum hole in the back.
Right, exactly.
The back of the
who's to say that's not an eye in the afterlife? Don't know. For the listener, I just shook my head saying I don't know what I'm talking about.
And do you think if you have sex with a ghost, would you consider that cheating in a relationship, or do you think that is... And now it could be bum sex as well. Now we've established that.
If you're a ghost...
Yeah.
Is it cheating in a relationship?
Is it cheating? If it's just...
Am I proud of that? I don't know. I guess it's... I mean, it's cheating... I think it's worse than cheating. It's like you've gone mad. It's like, I'd rather you cheated than sort of started having sex with sheets with holes for eyes.
Fair enough. Have you ever seen a ghost, Jamie? Have you ever seen...
I've seen people who look like ghosts. I get... No. No. I definitely get frustrated by the I feel like there's a lot of one-upmanship in ghost discussions. Anytime someone calls it out, you can see a person just waiting for them to finish to tell their... No, you know, sorry, finish. But I was going to say, no, I actually saw and then they do that thing where they're like, fucking hell. And you're like, what? And they're like, it's there. It's like what? Its ears were burning. Rubbish.
Don't know. Oh, that's most of the ghost questions. We got most of the ghost questions out. We don't usually do them all this early, but it's good to put them out of the way.
I was expecting a very even spread of ghost questions. It's very top heavy.
We might come back to more ghost-based stuff later on. So, look, there's lots of things to talk to you about. There's loads of interesting stuff going on right at the moment. But where did it all start for you, Jane? Where the hell did you come from?
Dad's cock, am I right?
It is.
Please.
Not just there. Takes two to tango. Because I saw you, I think the first time and I probably had seen you before, the first time I became aware of you, I think, was probably seeing you in Fleabag, which was not... You'd done quite a few things before that, though, right? Off the record, I imagine.
Yeah. Oh, what came... I mean, that's another chicken or egg. What came first off the record of Fleabag? One gave birth to the other. Where did it all start? I started by the Fringe, doing a uni sketch show. And then just sort of was terrified for 5 years doing stand-up. I'm not. I think performing live is a good base for me, but I'm just terrified of it. I'm sort of so in awe of people who can do it and enjoy it and have a drink before or after. Like if I have like a thimble of beer before a gig, I'm worried my head will fall off or something during the gig. But no, so I did that, and then yeah, I mean, as far as like TV and stuff's concerned, you know, I wanted to be an actor from the age of like 5, but didn't know anyone anywhere who'd ever done it personally, and it just felt like a fun thing to think about wanting to do to kind of keep you going. I never expected to ever get anywhere, but I was really lucky to, off the back of my live stuff, I managed to get a sketch, write a sketch for a show called Anna and Katie, which starring a sketch show starring Katie Wicks and Anna Crinny, and Katie Wicks who plays Carol in my show. Woo! That was me for the listener. No one just stormed the stage. But yeah, so God, I'm trying to think of what happened to me to get me here. So I wrote a sketch for that, and then I got Channel 4 were trialing this new scheme called Blaps, where I got given a few characters. This is going back about 10 years now, and I tried out a few characters. Off the back of that, Robert Popper, genius Robert Popper, a writer of Look Around You and Friday Night Dinner, sort of heard that I could do different voices and was like, oh, it'd be nice to have a coffee and talk about stuff. But then he got me in to read all the different voices for a Friday Night Dinner read-through when all the actors were too famous to turn up. So it's like, yeah. So it's basically me, and there was a couple of them that were there, but I was there just like crapping my pants, like having to do all these impressions of people. But you know, it's called being a swing reader. Like in read-throughs for TV shows, they'll read the whole show out, and they have people on the side who are there to predominantly read in like angry short man in cafe, like number 2 kind of thing. If there's 2 in your show, and anyone who can't make it. And so I did that, but I did an illegal amount of prep. Like I don't think he was even expecting me to do an impression, but I'm there being like, how does Mark Heap talk? And yeah, so off the back of that, I basically became a kind of swing reader for hire, because everyone was like, he will put in a lot of work for 25p. And so yeah, and any time I do a read through, they throw me like a token, like one was literally obnoxious guy in cafe who said, I'll have those when someone else wanted those.
That's the kind of part I get. You shouldn't be taking my parts off me.
Sorry. Well, yeah, so off the back of that, I did, and I was doing that for years while I was trying to get my show about a letting agent, I can't pronounce the name of it, off the ground. And yeah, so I was sort of just doing that for ages, and then parts sort of got slightly bigger. You know, I went to Gran Canaria with Bradley Walsh just to have my trousers pulled down. Okay. On camera. That's actually something that happened. I was in a show with Kay Van Novak and Bradley Walsh called Sun Trap, and I had to get a flight out to Gran Canaria to do this scene. And by the time I got there, they trimmed my scene down to a line, and I have my trousers pulled down, and then they cut the line. So here we are, and that's what.
But it seems like a lot of your stuff comes from your background, and your family's obviously like a big part of it. So I think with Stath Lets Flats, it's sort of a little bit of a homage to your family and your sister. Of course, there's this new phenomenon, seems to me, of brother and sisters coming out of the woodwork and doing fantastically successful sitcoms together. Yeah. That never used to happen. I never did a show with my sister. Maybe if I had, not sure how it would have gone down. She can play the cello. I mean, pretty good.
Can you refer to that as the good old days?
You had to find someone you weren't related to do shows with.
I remember, yeah.
But it's like, that's sort of weird. It's sort of unusual to... But that means you've had this lifelong relationship with the person you're working with. I mean, you're fantastic together, and she is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Really funny.
Yeah, I guess I'm just... I think that, like, in the same way that you hear of a lot of... groups like forming their sensibility together. I think like I just had an extra, you know, you tend to meet the people that you're going to make comedy with in your late teens, is that fair to say? And I guess I just had a sort of 18-year head start, and you do to those people. And so we have a shorthand, and we kind of like, you know, we like you do sort of with siblings, there's a kind of like a positive rivalry a lot of the time that's like just like wanting each other to be funnier, wanting yourself to be funnier, and like who can say the funniest thing about our parents, who can say the funniest thing about our house being crap, who can say like the funniest thing about school. It's like, and you kind of generate a kind of, you know, your noise. I like to think of it as like your noises, like what are the sounds that you find funny kind of thing, like, and I think that having that be in tune has been amazing. And it's just a really, you know, casting is hard. Finding someone that you think that can really kind of carry your voice or who you can write for is hard. So having someone who's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I know everything already, and I'm just so aware of how unbelievably talented she is that it's like, it's just such a gift to be like, oh, I can just put her in the show and it'll be good. Brilliant.
Yeah. And because it's so much about your background as well, it would be more difficult to find someone you weren't related to, probably.
Yeah, totally,
But it's what I like about it, because I think like the obvious thing to do if you were doing a sitcom about estate agents basically would be sort of more sort of posh white.
Right.
You know, upper sort of public school boy twats in a different sort of way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean, there's characters that are a little bit
you
like
have
that.
to reference them. Yeah.
But that would be where it was. That's where people would go with it. But Stath Lets Flats, everyone's sort of, not everyone, but nearly everyone in it is this quite charming sort of innocent sort of fools, rather than, it's not what you would do with not what most people would do with an estate agent sitcom. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Right, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Like, I think that was always my endeavour, because, you know, I don't care about the world of letting agencies. I sometimes, like, catch a glimpse of, like, you know, if I'm, like, mentioned, if I'm, like, in something in an article, it'll be, like, Jamie Demetriou from letting agency-based sitcom Stath Lets Flats. I'm like, what have I done with my life? It's so weird. But I think that it's, like, that is the kind of irrelevant feature of the show, weirdly.
Yeah.
It's a foundation for a great sketch and a great kind of recurring, in terms of like the tours, like it's a good comedy game to play, and to kind of, anything that you can do that's like, anything that you can do where the story is implicit. It's like, oh, I've seen an arsehole with with a clipboard and a really scared punter. Oh, he's trying to let her a flat. Like I know what the story is, and I can just enjoy it without having to be too expositional, and it's like it's a gift in a kind of sitcom setting. And but it was an idea that me and John Petrie, a producer, kind of like, it's a voice that I've had forever. It's like a combination of every sort of Greek person I've ever met, London Greek person, and you know, we were just talking about how as a job, it's kind of like if you were to take them out of the viewing, would it change that much? They might be more likely to rent the flat. like just like there's a table. It's like, as you can see, there's a table. Like, yeah. And if I'm completely honest with you, like, I'm not going to say it's got 3 legs, because it doesn't. It has 4. Right? I mean, like, if any, you're just like, there's a slight irritant in the air. It's like, well, does the flat come with this guy? Because I don't want it if it does. So, and then there's just like, and it means so much to them. And I handed I mean, it's very telling that when I first started this, I was like, how am I going to get into this world that I don't care about and know nothing about? And I was like, okay, I'll hand out a few questionnaires to like friends of friends who are letting agents, like, maddest viewing you ever had, craziest like lie you've ever told, da-da-da. Every single one came back with, nothing silly or weird has ever happened here. We're very professional and it's only good. It's good work. So the lack of self-awareness is like hysterical. And by the way, like the kind of charming nature of them is born out of the fact that, like, you know, ultimately Stath isn't an arsehole deep down. He's just like, what's my dad doing? Yeah, me as well. I'm going to do that because my dad done it. What's my dad want? To have a son. Oh yeah, that was me. Okay, cool. I'll have a son too. That's like me. Like, that, you know, the sweetness comes out of the kind of like the no thought of it. It's just like that. Brilliant. That's the closest thing to me, kind of thing. I don't think there's anything nefarious going on.
No, but I think, there's a sort of truth that is a sort of better understanding of, I think estate agents, when I've dealt with them, looking around houses throughout the last 30 years, there's a lot of people who are just completely bullshitting. There's a lot of people.
Totally.
It's funny putting anyone in this. It reminds me a little bit of Pito Hanrahan, which is a on-the-air character that I actually did fucking create. But it's the origin was that was a man trying to explain the Maastricht Treaty the day it came out, which was a massive treaty, pretending he'd read it and bullshitting his way through. And anyone trying to bullshit their way through something is funny. And that's what there's a sort of charm to this guy. It's like the first time. And how much of that is scripted, and how much of your is you just messing around and seeing what happens? It feels like you've just walked into somewhere and are spotting stuff.
There's a bit of that, yeah. I mean, it's in the show, that is the kind of most improv heavy bit, because you don't know the location, and a lot of the time you're like, get me the scuzziest, most disgusting place in the world, and then you turn up and they're like, it's really nice, I'm so sorry, and then you sort of have to work out things to say about it. Right. So I tend to go down like half an hour before, so I can like know what the character doesn't know before he goes in, if you know what I mean. It's like, because they often haven't seen the properties beforehand, so there's a lot of like, oh yes, is this the pink curtain? Oh no, that's a bedsheet. Why are they hung that on the wall? This sort of thing. So you kind of, and you might like set up the occasional thing, but a lot of it is scripted, because there's a lot of sort of, I've been on so many kind of fake in the sense that I don't actually need a flat. I've been on so many tours just to sort of like, and it is like, I've said this before, but it's like they're going like, now everyone, Jamie Demetriou's coming, he's going to do a tour with us, let's give him some good material, because he's struggling to write this series, so be as thick as you possibly can be and lie as much as you can, because he really needs this. And it's like the gold they throw at you for hours. It's even after they recognise me, they'll be like, there's a geezer at my office who's just like you, I'm telling you. It's like, it's you.
But yeah, I think but you're right. It's about much more than that. It is that sort of family thing. So is it sort of really based on your dad, the dad character, or is it just that starting point?
Weirdly, no. That was the intention, very much so. But like the note that always came back from my producers and Channel 4, quite rightly, was like, this would never happen in real life. Anything to do with my dad would never happen in real life. It's like there is no way Stath's dad would put him in the Disneyland parade because he said the dogs looked nice in it. like the things that my dad has done in my life to me and with me is like, you put it on TV and people are like, jumping the shark, every scene. So we had to kind of soften the blow. And then, ultimately, like Christos Sturgioglou, who plays Vassos, we were talking about this backstage. I think that I kind of learnt what the series was from watching series 1, and from getting to know some of the actors that I didn't know as well. I came up with a lot of them, but Christos I'd obviously never met before. I was like, we looked forever to try and find the guy to play my dad, because we wanted someone to be authentically Greek. We were doing Zooms with people in Greece and Cyprus the whole time. And the kind of, I guess the sensibility that people would often just assume you wanted is like, I always think about being in Cyprus as a kid, and everyone's favorite comedy show was like this prank show that was like this kind of Mr. Bean-esque figure walking down the street with a big sort of high stacked-ish pile of boxes in his hand, like a big one, a slightly smaller one, a slightly smaller one on top, but walking down the street going whoa, walking down the street, and they cut to reaction shots from the people in public, all looking nonplussed by it. Don't keep those in. But the guy is enough to keep the audiences. He's gonna fall. It's right, fragile on the box or something, just some jeopardy. Oh, it's they look empty. So there, everyone, a lot of the sort of Vassos-esque portrayals we were getting were Stath, don't you dare! And I'm like, well, it doesn't say he falls over in the script. But then Christos, and we saw some good people, but then there was someone maybe felt a bit too harsh, blah, blah, blah. But my director, the director of series 1 and 2, Tom Kingsley, is a complete genius, was like, have you ever seen Dogtooth, which is Yorgos Lanthimos' sort of big breakout film? He did like The Favourite and The Lobster and things like that. Okay, yeah. And it's like this very harrowing film, and Christos plays this like demented like dad who's like, for a lot of the film, covered in blood. And he was like, he's brilliant in it. He could be good. I'm like, to play the silly dad in this sitcom about a letting agency. Does he still have the blood on him? And he's just extraordinary. And, getting to know him more, I kind of like tried to, he's like so gentle and lovely. And, if you watch the difference, he's very angry in series 1 and he really softens in series 2. And it's like purely from spending more time with him.
Right. Yeah. Well, because you also, it feels like you've chosen the cast of people that you like and you've worked with largely. And they were sort of not quite unknown, but slightly unknown when you cast it, yeah?
Yeah, I think we all were.
You weren't sort of interfered with, like people going, you have to put Amanda Holden in or something like that.
I mean, you joke.
Well,
your head would spin if I told you some of the suggested names. But, you develop an understanding of that over the years because it's like you say, we weren't known. No. I wasn't particularly known. I had, I was the guy with the teeth from The Thing kind of thing. Well, the very, very amazing thing. But that's purely out of like, these programs have to be seen by a certain amount of people and a famous person is a doorway into them. And I think over the years, you rebel against that when you're coming up, and then you go, well, I mean, it's a business ultimately, and it's like you have to understand the reasoning behind it. And a lot of like very famous people are very famous because they're very good, and it's like it's great to kind of like, we had Julia Davis in series 3, which is like heaven, and that's like a plus for them and a plus for me. But no, we were like vaguely unknown, and it was tough. But I truly believed them all to be the funniest people in the world. I really, really love that thing where you're like, this really reminds me of the feeling I had growing up and watching French and Saunders and Father Ted and like all my favourite things. Like when you feel like, oh, I'm actually having the same sensation as that. Like watching Katie Wicks, watching Ellie, Tash, Kyle, Dustin, Christos. There's a certain like something about them that but luckily, I did have a very supportive team as well who were into it. There was the initial pitches of other people, but ultimately we wanted what was best for the show.
I just sort of think, but if they're aware of how the industry works, which they should be, nearly every successful sitcom has, even Friends, starts with a cast of people who aren't known, and then that's how. But The Office, all of these things that have gone on to be the mega successful things have really not had. Oh, let's put someone in from somewhere else.
Totally, yes. No, yeah. Totally.
But you think they'd realise. So it's much better to put. That's what it just feels. It feels like you all get what's going on, and there's an understanding because it's very much its own thing. It's like a lot of comedy shows that I like. It takes you a little while to tune into the first time you watch it, you go, what's going on here? What's
right.
And then you tune into it, and it's great. But you need everyone to get that sensibility. And nearly every sitcom that I like, I kind of hated the first. I hated Larry Sanders the first time I saw it. I hated The Simpsons the first time I saw it. And and then you get into the sensibility of it and realise what it is, because it's more about the sensibility, right? Rather than a star, at least, anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with all of that, totally. But you do have to have that initial bumpy period where no one likes it, and everyone's like, get that voice off my television. Like, there was a real feeling about, like, the trailer just felt so great. People hated it before it even came out. I was getting so much, like, hate DMs and stuff about the trailer, like, this is annoying me! Like... But yeah, you totally do, and it's like, but that sort of makes you. But then again, say whoever you love, say like someone brilliant that you love is in something, and it's just like a cleanser. It just like forces you to understand it quicker.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But you're right though. Like an original sensibility is unparalleled. I mean, I remember. I always think about starting out and all the general meetings that I would take when I first got into the industry and was terrified and didn't really know I was just trying to sort of understand what it was to be asked to do something or to pitch something, and how all that works. So I was taking these meetings with producers that felt very kind of featherlight and like they were directionless. And I'd always say, what is what are you looking for? Like, what kind of TV shows do you want to make? And it was around the time Girls was the new big thing, and it was really popular. And the response I always got was, the British Girls, the new Girls. And I'd be like, oh, right, so like a new kind of, some like an original concept with like distinctive performances, and they're like, something with girls in it. Like, and you're like, well, that's right, okay. But the thing is, if you want to make the new thing, you have to make the furthest thing from it, because the thing that binds the new thing is that it's new. It's its newness that is the thing that makes it so exciting. So to be like, I know how to make a new thing, copy the new thing. It's like, it's not going to have that same quality. But you know, again, if you don't want to hemorrhage in this industry, you have to accept and understand the reasons that those kind of like ripple effects happen of things. And I feel so lucky that I was able to kind of flex my sensibility, I guess, a little bit, and do it surrounded by people who I think are so brilliant and get given the space to do that.
Sure. And you've done 3 series, which is quite unusual for British sitcoms, which I am all for. I would like to see more sitcoms do more. Yeah, I don't agree with this. You know, I think The Office, fine, did 12, but like The American Office, there was a good, 7 or 8 series of that before it was, when it was very, very strong. So if the characters are good and everything, and you can do it, and obviously the American model's a bit different the way it's put together, and this is mainly just you writing. You started off with you and Robert, but now it's just you writing it, so it's much harder to write lots of episodes. But I think it's. Are you going to do more beyond this 3rd series?
My honest answer to that is that I really just like don't know right now, because it feels so recent doing the 3rd. I mean, I don't feel like the character and the characters are dead. Like, I feel like there's definitely more to do with them.
Yeah.
It's really just about like taking a breath and going, I've been doing this for 10 years. Do I know how to do anything else? Like, and trying to work that out. But like, I don't never rule it out. No way. I'm just like, again, it's literally like, it's been a few months since doing it. And it's like, I need to break this chain of spending all my time thinking about letting agents.
And you had quite a hard time writing this 3rd series, right? So you're writing in lockdown and in America, right?
Yes, yeah. It was, I get the horrible writer's block at the best of times, but I was going mad. And I think that like part of that is this kind of, the 2 series structure, 2 series plus Christmas specials, I think is the kind of the perfect, traditionally the perfect British thing. But I agree, like if it worked, like Peep Show went forever and was brilliant, like consistently. And Partridge has been recreated. I think that model is like very appealing to me. Like don't feel like you need to keep it in the same kind of quarters forever. But I can't remember what I was just talking about. What was I saying? It was something.
It was very interesting. It was so interesting.
Oh God! Can we get some playback, please? Wait, what were we talking about? Partridge series, more series. Oh yes, the 2. Yes, I think that the 2 series thing sort of makes sense, because it's like you go, okay, series 1, you're learning. Series 2, you're correcting. And series 3, it's like, what now? We've corrected it. It's been corrected. And that's why series 3 of the show is quite like outlandish aesthetically, because it's like, let's just make it really big and loud.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how bands, their 3rd or 4th album tends to be the one that they just want to be good for stadiums, because they're just like, well, I've got a lot of pent-up energy now. But yeah, I feel like I'm glad that we've done 3 and didn't stick with 2, because I felt like we did some really fun stuff with 3, and I'm very surprised to find that I'm happy with how it turned out, because it was a very dirty slog to get there.
Yeah.
I just went completely bananas. I was like setting up. I found myself. The thought genuinely crossed my mind one day. It's like, if you leave a kind of, I don't know, broom out or something, maybe you'll trip over it, and that trip will be inspiration for Stath's trip in the show. Like, if you walk into that wall, you can maybe be like, God, remember that time I walked into that wall? I've got to put that in the show. I was just really lacking in ideas, because I think that I don't like very little verbatim I hear day to day is what goes into the show, but the rhythms and cadences of the way people talk are kind of like imprinted on my head, and then that kind of falls like out of me onto the page a little bit. And me being the only person I was talking to for months on end just didn't help that. It's like I'm not saying anything funny.
Yeah.
In my flat on my own like that. Yeah.
But it must be hard if you were in America, presumably working on the after party.
Yeah.
So like you're working on something, and then you try. You know, I think that's very difficult. If you heads down in one project, and you're then trying to go and write, even if you've got time. I'm presuming in that project, there was quite a lot of downtime because it's a massive cast, and there's bits that I've watched a couple of episodes of it, and you're not in the first two that much.
No. But to be honest, I really loved playing that part. I'm a firm believer, having sort of spent so much time doing those kind of bitty things, that there is joy to be found in not being front and center all the time. Sure. Like in Stath, I'm crying out to just be like tenant number 4 sometimes, because it's just like you just get to be smaller and make a quicker it's like you're not so exposed. You can just get in and get out. Like I get really worried that like Stath's overstaying his welcome all the time. That's why I'm so like that's why the ensemble like tends to kind of grow as the series go on, because I'm just like my nose is so big, it's filling up the whole show. But yeah, no, I had a lot of. There was like an 8-week period at one point where I was doing the after party where I was just in lockdown in the house. So it did give me something to do, but Stath is such like a British sounding show a lot of the time, and all the kind of British voices that you hear like in where I grew up, kind of thing. And it's like not hearing those for a while was a bit tough. Like I want to hear something a bit nasal. I want to hear something a bit soft, and I want to hear like a bit of, I just want to hear the sound of here a little bit. But I had such an amazing time doing it. Truly, like a lot of the hardship started when I got back, and I just hadn't really had a break. And it was like sort of 4.5. I was there on Christmas Day on my own and New Year's on my own, in LA. Just like my eyes getting wider as they went on. I could feel my eyelashes on the back of my neck, kind of thing. Like it was a long time. And then it was like I think I need a cool off period from this like mad amount of alone time I've spent in California for some reason. But no, but that in itself, like working with Chris Miller and that ridiculous cast was one of the best experiences of my life. I loved it.
No, it's phenomenal. And Tiffany Haddish and Ben Schwartz, I'd be very excited to work with. He's
got a wild mind. He's very, very funny and smart.
So it's well worth a look. It's a very good show. But I think that's it's sort of that's interesting, and I think it's a lot of people who do have a big acting career aren't necessarily trying to write. I suppose Phoebe Waller-Bridge is doing a similar thing where she's writing a lot and getting a lot of acting work. Yeah, totally. But it's usually you've got a writer or a performer or a writer performer who just concentrate on their own thing. I think it must just be hard to, be diversifying.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's face it, it's a really lovely job to have to write and act in comedy. There's no one, I mean, it'd be mad to not think that. But the weird thing about it is that it's like there's no time ever for anything other than that. I always think of like my life as a bucket, and if you will, bear with me. Like the acting jobs are like these like blocks that you throw in, and then it's like, oh, but there's loads of cracks in between because the bucket's circle. It's like, but then you pour in the writing water and it fills every crack of your life because there's no limit to the amount of writing you can be doing. Like each script I rewrite like 1 billion times to try and like feel like there's a good foundation there and a good, like, because I want the story to be more than just like, does he let the flat kind of thing. He does. No, he doesn't. Yeah.
But there's a lot of work. You can see there's a lot of work going into it, and I think I've read somewhere about you doing background on all the characters and really working up all the characters to a sort of ridiculous degree, even the smaller characters, or being very well prepared for it. So I think that shows in the work, but it is that's the writing is always the absolute most horrendous stuff, even if you're not in lockdown in a foreign country.
Totally, yeah. Do you know anyone I'm always interested. Do you know anyone who enjoys writing TV?
I don't really.
It's mad, isn't it?
But I find writing very hard. I'm writing a book at the moment, which is about my last year, all the things I went through last year, which I'm actually enjoying writing, which is the first time that's ever happened to me that I sort of sit down and go, this is quite easy and I like it.
Right.
But in terms of writing scripts, it's so hard, and I spend so much time just not doing any, feeling like I'm not getting anywhere. Weeks pass and I've got nothing, to show for.
Yeah. It's mad. But that's interesting though I mean, I feel like writing non-fiction is like so much more satisfying because you're like I've done a few bits of like journalisty things and it's just like transcribing like events. So you're like, oh, what was my take on that event versus just like, here's some thin air, try and make a letting agent out of it.
Well, I really liked in this last series your fight with Charlie Cooper. I thought it was great, just because that's again. I think it's you don't ever see it on TV where people fight like real people. I mean, it's not quite a real fight in that there's no actual contact between the two of you. Yeah. But that's much more like what a fight is like, and it's very funny. And how many times did you have to jump into that canal?
Oh,
and was it a real canal?
Yeah, it's one of those things that you write down on paper. You go, that'll be absolutely brilliant. Who's doing it? And it's like, it's me again. Okay, it was an actual canal.
It looked nasty.
Oh my god. I like, you open your eyes underwater and it was like luminous yellow. Like, why? Is it like 1,000 pisses in it? Like, who's pissed? How is there that much piss in it that the whole thing is yellow? Not just like a tint, like scorching piss. Like someone's been like, let's get our mates down because this is still blue. But yeah, it was insane. But it was also like just like being in a wetsuit and then having to shower off to get dry again and then getting back into the wetsuit. Yeah. It was like hell. But no, I wanted to. It just like whenever I think of the series, I think of it as kind of like there are like pillars throughout that make me go like, okay, I think this series might be okay because it's got this bit, it's got this bit, it's got this bit, it's got this bit, and it's like the jumping into the thing. I was like, that feels like a kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's like that's the the bit where he jumps into the canal, the bit where they have the fight. It's like those are the kind of totem poles that I'm like, that's okay. And like the fight is like you get, and also it's like there has to be a kind of foundation to it. It's like, with the jumping into the canal, it was all about people kind of trying to help a cause by doing everything but helping the cause. Like they would literally do absolutely everything but actually like directly confront the thing that they're trying to help out. And it's like, what is you jumping in a canal doing for your tenants? And it's the same with the fight. It's like the foundation was like, we always thought about the fight in Old Boy, like the one down the hallway, if you've seen that, like, it was the most amazing, intense fight ever. It's like, if you put that through the kind of Stath filter, what does it look like? It's like, they don't touch each other. They do not no one's landing a hit there. And Charlie, getting like, me and Natasha, my sister, saw, before they did this country, before we did Stath, we did this read through for a kind of entertainment format. And Charlie was playing Curtin, and Daisy was playing a different character. I think it was like a different Bristolian character she used to play. And they were just, it was unbelievable. They were just so immediately funny, like that feeling I was talking about. And I was like, I just cannot wait to see what we do. And then This Country came out. It was like just the best thing in the world. And having Charlie come on, I've been wanting to work with him forever, and having Charlie come onto the show was just, I mean, he's like, Matt Groening says about like recognizing characters in silhouette. It's like the way you truly know that you know them. Hence why like all the Simpsons have such mad heads and hair, if you want to call it hair. You're not getting away with that being hair. Triangles. No, actually, no. I'm going to go on about this. No, I really feel like that about what they've done with This Country. It's like you just know them, and so it's sort of like it felt so exciting to have him kind of be a part of the world a little bit. Yeah,
it's fun. And you've mentioned this in other interviews, but what I really like about it again is, which is unusual for sitcoms, is the characters do rubbish jokes that people laugh at, but also people laugh at each other's jokes, which doesn't happen very much. The thing I think about watching The Office, when David Brent's doing that dance, for example, everyone's standing around going like, "Oh my god!" But like, if that was happening, you'd be fucking, you'd be pissing yourself.
100%.
Absolutely, or you'd be trying not to piss yourself, but be pissing yourself. So this kind of. This sort of series, it happens in sitcoms. You've said this thing about, a stupid character makes a brilliant joke, and no one goes, "How the fuck did you come up with that amazing joke?" But but it's just really great to see just bad jokes and people doing normal jokes and enjoying them between themselves as well.
Totally, yeah. Like all friends think their friends are the funniest people in the world, and it's like there might be the occasional person who is, and they just sort of are, because if you're laughing, it is funny. If it's like that deep-rooted laugh, it's great. The thing you're referring to that I always say is that I always thought that sitcoms were full of people making brilliant jokes and no one's laughing. It's like, what if everyone's making shit jokes and everyone's laughing the whole time? And it's like Tash and Al, when they're doing their kind of like thing, and they truly get each other into like a fit of hysteria before the take so that the laugh is real. And they're just like, so that you on action, they're already like crying with laughter. And then in among the laughter, they're just saying the lines. It's like it's just so infectious to watch. You just see like just crew and everyone with just that dumb look on their face, like, I want to be laughing as well. It's lovely. Yeah.
Fabulous. Right, I'm going to ask you some emergency questions.
Please.
Do you think the photo that will appear in your obituary has already been taken?
Oh my God.
I think it's hard with you. I think this is a tricky one with you.
I hope so.
You hope so?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm worried. I feel like there's always a thing that. Do you know what? I'm not going to say the thing that I was going to say.
Okay.
I mean, I really want to say it because it's not like uncouth, but I just don't want to put it out there because someone will try and get the photo. Has that photo already been taken? I don't know. Maybe it's... I'd like it to be me on a log flume having the time of my life.
It could be. I think it's different because I think, obviously, like, when you've done a big character, that's often what will be picked out by the newspapers, right?
Sure, yeah.
But I feel like, the trajectory of your career feels like it's going that way still, right?
He's pointing up, listener.
Pointing up. I'm pointing up with a slight, diagonal.
Oh yeah, it's a risky
there's a parabola coming, but you're still.
Oh, it's going down. Oh, sorry. Right.
It's still going up.
No, but I would be more than happy for it to be Stath or something.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy for that to be the case. I feel like if I only once got to do a show where I really felt like I was doing a character that I like got and thought was fun, that's like amazing. Like, it's so nice to do something that I'm like, oh, I think I quite like this. This is quite good, maybe.
But you're off in, you've done movies and the big TV show. So like America's obviously calling you. And
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
But as long as I don't know, I'm really, really like into doing as much good stuff as I can, and that's the kind of headline. That might sound like wanky or whatever, but I really, really am I'm just focused on trying to work with people who I think are brilliant, and hopefully, my friends always talk about the kind of the best things ever are the things that are big and good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very rare kind of like in the middle of the Venn is quite difficult, because if you want to make something like super duper like enormous, it's got to appeal to everyone, and in order to appeal to everyone, you're less likely to be specific, and if you're less likely to be specific, you're more likely to be derivative. You're more likely to be derivative. You're more likely to just be treading water with something that's not that interesting necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you can manage something that ticks something for everyone, and is like truly funny and specific, I think that's the goal, and that's what I'd really love to do. And and if like Stath, like, no one was watching it for ages. We couldn't get people to watch it because, like you say, there's not that many famous people in it, and it's like everyone always said, like, my producer Seb Barwell, and a lot of people have been in the industry for ages. Like John Petrie, who produced People Just Do Nothing, he was like, Series 3 was when people started watching it, and like the viewing figures for Series 3, like, have gone through the roof. It's like this weird thing where it's like, I'm not watching it until they do 3. No, it's sort of a weird thing. So I don't know what point I'm making.
I think it's interesting. I was just doing a talk with Robin. It's about Morecambe and Wise, who I think did kind of manage to transcend that thing that they were. I mean, it was a different world where there was only 2 or 3 channels, and but they got to the point where everyone in the country basically watched it, and it was good.
Yeah.
And it's the one. I think it's the only thing I can think of where you go. Usually, I'd say if everyone likes the comedian's probably not that good.
Right.
But I think with Morecambe and Wise, you go. Like pretty much, there's hardly anyone who goes, I fucking hate Eric Morecambe. You never hear that.
No, that's Shangri-La, yeah. But you mentioned The Simpsons. I think that's an example of it. But wait, I'm actually like, I was so fascinated when you said that you hated it when it first came out. Was that a general consensus?
I think with The Simpsons, it was just because it was so hyped and it felt like it was. So maybe even before I saw it, it just felt like. This is a thing over from America, and it's on all the merchandise was out, and it wasn't really. It was on Sky, and nobody had Sky, so it was difficult to actually see it. I think I saw some videos of it, so I think I was put off that by the hype behind it, and maybe I'd seen the Bartman or something like that, and thought,
right,
you know, this isn't. But when you actually see, and especially once it's from the second season onwards, I think with The Simpsons, it does go up a gear. Something like Parks and Rec is not very good for the first season, and then it's still okay, but it goes up a massive gear.
Yeah, I mean, I love that show.
Yeah,
I mean, did you like Friends when it was out?
It was all right. I like it. I like it more. Again, I think to begin with, I didn't like it because I felt like it was. It was this mass market thing, and then when I watched it, I kind of
interesting.
Quite like
yeah. There's a kind of like there's a mini generational gap that I think is people like to me it's like I grew up like as far as like American comedy is concerned, like my big love was always your kind of Father Ted, The Office, stuff like that. But like Friends was a huge. It's like when you're born. Your mum's there and Friends is good. Like, those are the two things. It was like, I just sort of like, I'd like eat my TV every day watching, it's Chandler, he's so sarcastic, brilliant. I was so obsessed with, honestly, when I was at school, I think I've said this in a sort of written interview before, so here's the audio. I once... asked my mum if I could have the day off school because Matthew Perry had gone into hospital. And she said no, and I made a point of doing a lot of leaning with my head leant against walls at school, backward, like I'm leant back against a wall like that and breathing deeply, like, it's cool, he's gonna be fine. He could be any more better. I was trying to work out something, I didn't have it. Don't prepare things like this, Jamie.
It's not, it's nice to be a fan of something, isn't it? It's nice.
Look, I like wicked, obscure stuff too, man.
He was the best. Well, actually, I don't know. I think Phoebe was the best thing in it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that there are many battles that take place in Friends, but the war for me is won by Ross and Phoebe.
Yeah.
Mic drop? I don't know. Could be.
I went back and watched the whole of Seinfeld. Me and my wife have done it the last 3 or 4 months, and it's pretty. Again, it takes a little while to really warm up, and then it's really good. And the last episode's a bit disappointing, but the rest of it's sort of pretty good.
Sure,
it's pretty good. But
my sure is born out of the fact that everyone has a blind spot. Everyone in life has a blind spot. Mine is Seinfeld. Right. Never seen it. It's one of those things where it's like. It comes on, I go, oh, don't watch that. Wait, you're going to watch it from the beginning one day. And then you go, how many series is it? Christ. We'll see.
I mean, it's a lot. It felt like we watched it every day, and we'd watched 2 episodes. It felt like every day, and it still took like forever to watch it.
Right.
It's about episodes. It's series 4. It suddenly kind of clicks, and it's just the characters are just so good. And if anything they do a bit too much with them, I'd happily watch them just sitting and talking rubbish. Rather than because it isn't actually a show about nothing. It kind of loads of sort of wacky stuff happens really in it.
Totally, yeah. I mean, I remember hearing what is it? They say no hugs, no learning. Is that the rule there? I think there was a rule in the writers' room. There's no hugs, no learning. No emotional sentiment. No, the characters have to reset every episode. They can't learn anything from what they've done. And it's like Stath's like. Lots of hugs, no learning.
I mean, it's sort of hot. It hasn't aged completely well. You know, like it's a really odd thing watching a man with 90s sensibilities of we're all just going to fuck different people mainly.
Right.
I'm going to have a different beautiful girlfriend every week in my own show. That's basically a supermodel.
He's scoring a lot in that show.
It is. Well, that's sort of the joke. They have different.
Sounds like a pretty fucking cool guy. Seinfeld. Well, if he's good with the chicks.
It's not as much. And there's lots of things that you kind of go, oh, Friends did that afterwards and a bit more mainstream, but basically the same. There's quite a few bits where you notice, oh, that's the same as Friends did that. Friends did that thing, but yeah. So I think it was a little bit more out there. I'm going to ask you another emergency. This is my new emergency question that I like. If you were going to be put in a chrysalis. And you're going to be pupate, all right? And when you're in a chrysalis and you're a caterpillar, you melt, and then you're formed into a butterfly. It's so different.
Go on.
You can choose what you come out of the pupa as.
I love that.
What would you like to be?
Oh,
you can be anything. It can be another person. Can be you changed. It can be an object. What would you like to be?
What am I coming out as?
Yeah, it's
difficult. I really want to give this some thinking time.
Yeah,
Don't spring this on me.
Well, I think it's one of those ones that the immediate reaction says so much about you. Because it's such a big thing. There's a great psychological piece of therapy.
What do I want to be? Is there a bladderless creature? I would love to not have to wee ever in my life.
You can be you without a bladder if you want.
I'm coming out without a bladder. I'm coming out. Yeah, honestly, I feel like, you know, don't even put it in don't put my bladder into room 101 because I don't want it to exist anywhere.
Wow.
I just hate weeing all the time so much. Holidays have been ruined by it. I was on holiday with my girlfriend recently and it's like, what did you do? Weed. I went to the toilet on holiday. Yeah, in Brooklyn. I went to the loo in the Lower East Side. Yeah, it's just hell. So I think about that. Like whenever I'm thinking like what one thing would improve my life, it's like get rid of this bagpipe full of piss in my body.
And you're still young. It just gets worse.
I know. That's what I'm like. What? Like, what is it gonna be? I'm just like pissing just like permanently pissing.
I think it's the unpredictability. If it was predictable, I wouldn't mind. It's like sometimes when I drive in to London from Hertfordshire, sometimes I think, okay, well, I'll have a drink before I go and it'll be fine. And sometimes I'll have a drink before I go. And I literally, within 2 seconds, need to stop. I had one journey into London where I stopped within a mile of my house to do a wee and then had to stop 4 more times. On the same journey, I just had some coffee and stuff in the morning. I hadn't really had loads to drink. And by the time I got to London, I had to find a wood in London to go. I was so busting. And I'd done 3 wees, and I would stop 3 times at that point, and then I went and weed in a wood that I luckily went through a wood. I mean, what are the chances? in the middle of London.
Lots of surprise wees.
And then other times, like today, I just drove in, didn't even need to do a wee when I got here back. So what's that about? And I drank loads of Diet Coke today, so what's going on?
But have you ever been in a position where you're sat in, like, say, a meeting with someone? I mean, when I was dating back in the day, I remember being like, I have been to the toilet 8 times and you haven't been once, and we've had 8 drinks. What is wrong with you? Where's it go? Are you just pissing yourself? What are you doing? Like, I don't understand, but it's never a surprise to me because I always know when I'm going to be needing a wee, and it's when I'm breathing. Honestly, in fact, if I go to a supermarket, definitely doorstep, obviously.
Yeah.
If I sip 1 milliliter, I know that there's a big one coming. It expands in my body. It like swells. It's like my body irritates the water and it swells or something. Is that what this podcast is?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
So I told you it's a good question, didn't I?
It's
I told you
great
it's a
question.
good question. Because you can't, there's, you know, you can only get something. It's very, I've been forgetting to do it, and it's such a good question. Yeah, that is what was I going to say. Yeah, well, you need some kind of furnace in you to burn up. You would need to evaporate the liquid. So you're still going to drip, or you'd have to sweat.
Why does it have to be a furnace?
Because there'd have to be something that would get rid of the, you know, if you're not going to have...
We're talking about me coming out of a chrysalis here.
But where's the water going to go?
There's no logic here.
You've got no bladder. Where's the water going to go?
Oh, right, where's it going? Can't we just live in a world where, like, things are chill, man? And just, like, you drink and it's like, bye.
Well, if it just was a biggest of it, and it just every now and again, it was like your water's broke, like when you have a baby. Just you get 9 months and it just goes, but you don't know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen.
How good would that be, that moment? Oh, my God. How are you with doing poo out of your bum? Out of interest.
They're very good at this.
Poo out of bum.
It's like, I'd always poo out my bum, so I'm very
I have this
good
thing
at
that whenever I eat food, it comes out my arse the next day. It's mad. It is mad.
It's a strange system to invent by God. That's what I'm presuming God doesn't have an arsehole. Yeah. Doesn't have a bum, doesn't poo, but I may be wrong.
Yeah. Well, when it's good, it's a godlike feeling,
Yeah, it is
isn't it?
nice.
You feel like you've achieved something when it's a clean, you know that, I had it, I'm not gonna, what am I doing? All I'm saying is, when I've done a wee, when I've really been needing one, I'm like, well, yeah, it feels good, but there's another one 2 seconds away. Like, this is a lie. But when I've got rid of that, oh, man. Some of my fondest memories. I feel like when my life flashes before my eyes, it'll just be me smiling, walking out of the loo, having done it. Like, yes! I didn't know. Like, it's almost like you get that like feeling of like a phantom. It's like you can feel the absence of it. Like, like you skateboard out of the toilet and high five everyone you're passing. Just take a spin. Just stand in the middle of Leicester Square singing "Greatest Day" by Take That, spinning in a circle.
So that's
right,
why,
right. You guys have done that, right?
That's why God gave us the wonderful gift.
A clap.
Yeah, clap.
What? Oh, I love this. Thank you.
What else was I going to talk to you about? Well, I've heard a couple of times saying you got stuff stolen at the Edinburgh Fringe. Was this one of it? Someone told. There's a story told where you got your laptop stolen, but there was a story told where you had all your possessions stolen.
Yeah.
Was that the same?
Yeah, the laptop was one of all my possessions.
You had all your possessions at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
In the dressing room.
I don't. Again, this is a similar question. I mean, I'm not going to just question back, but like, the Fringe is like. Would you say? I mean, how many times have you done it?
24 or something like that.
About 24.
Yeah.
How many of those would you say you enjoyed more than you didn't?
I think it's probably about 10 or 12. It's the last, but it's definitely the second half of the experience. So I think the first, the first decade of it, it was absolutely horrible all the time, I would say.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, and then I was on stage one day. I'd been having, like a mad time trying to come up with stuff, as ever, boring writer's block, and I finally had done the show and sort of got it to a good place. I'd done like 5 shows. I'd got like my first ever good review and a broadsheet, and I was elated. I went on stage the next day like, do you know what? This might not be too bad. And then I got off stage and someone had snuck backstage and stolen all my stuff because I happened to be moving between accommodation while I was there. So I had to bring all my stuff with me, like everything. Yeah. So it was like wallet, phone, like all my clothes. Like they stole my clothes. Like someone had just, it was the Pleasance beside, and someone had just come up and I saw like a few like entrails of my stuff, like kind of like going down the path. And it was so weird, just like being completely possessionless, just like leaving my show like, okay, I don't have any stuff anymore. Like, what do I do when I don't? It's like, I'm just going to go home and stare at my hand. Like, what? Like, obviously, I didn't bring my TV with me or anything. There was like it was a really like gutting experience because also like everything I'd ever written was on it. But it was kind of no, I can't take anything positive from it. It was horrible. No, but it was just before I started like working in this industry. So it was like, luckily I managed to buy some things. I got a wallet, which was good to keep my coins in. That's not. I'm saying that as if it's funny. It's nothing.
Oh, well, it's right. So you never found out who did it and never got it back?
No. Oh, actually, I did, yes.
What?
It was Michael McIntyre. No, it was, no, I have no idea. But I hope they're enjoying my T-shirts.
Was it all in a suitcase? Was it all in one bag or something?
Yeah. They just wheeled it off and got back and were like, wow, this guy's really dug deep into vintage shops. This is cool. I'd really like some new stuff if possible.
So weird to steal someone's clothes.
Yeah.
Just hope I'm the same size as this guy.
Yeah. I kept thinking I'd be like walking, would it be embarrassing for the person if I was walking around Edinburgh and I just saw them like dressed as me? Hey, you look really nice. I love your style so much.
Yeah, it is. Edinburgh's it's harsh though, right? But it really worked for you. This is kind of where you met a lot of the people you ended up working with, right? So it kind of works out.
Yeah. Oh my God, I wouldn't take any of it back. And it's like I do think that a lot of the time when you're having a bad experience creatively, the likelihood is, not always, there are variants within the realm of like having a bad experience. You could be working with someone who's an arsehole, for example. That's a bad experience. But as far as like creative generation, like if you're having a bad time, I do feel like a lot of the time, the reason you're having a bad time is just because you're working really, really hard and you really, really want to get it right. If you're going mad, it's probably like because you care so much about it. So often I'll turn up to Stath and be like, oh God, it's this scene where I took my T-shirt off when I was writing it because I got so stressed. That was so bad. This is going to be so bad. And then you go, oh, this feels quite good because it felt bad because I was working so hard on getting so stressed about getting it right. Yeah. It's the ones where I'm like, and like, oh, this is great. This is easy. You tell me like, I didn't work really hard on that one because I was smiling all the time. So yeah, it's I think that like and the Fringe is the epitome of that. You're like working out what you're gonna do. Like I turned up for my first, because I did like 3 years at uni in a sketch troupe, which is really where I met like a lot of my gang, right. And how like a lot of sort of gangs form. Like Ellie White, who's in Stath plays Katya. She was in my sketch troupe, and I said to Tash, I think I've met someone who might be as funny as you. And she hit me. No, she didn't. She was very gracious. And I just sort of, and they're now on double act. I actually literally left filming of their sketch show. Well, they're filming a sketch show series today. It was their last day today. And that's where I come from today. And it's brilliant. They're just amazing. And it's so lovely. But we all had this experience of like really stressing out for ages, like doing these shows. And then I like left uni and was like, how do I apply this and get money out of it? It's impossible. And just was like, oh, well, I'll just probably get a regular job and enjoy the memories kind of thing. Yeah. And then I was like, do you know what? If I just book a Fringe venue, like a free Fringe venue, like back of a kind of cocktail bar or something, I'll have to do it. Even if I don't want to, I'll have to do it. I'd never done solo stuff before. And when I started trying to do stand-up, I had this weird tick where if a joke didn't land, which was very often, I would naturally just look to my left because I was so used to there being someone beside me to fill the silence. I'm like, why aren't you filling? Oh, because you're air. So, that was hard, and I was sort of scared of coming up with material, but then it came around, and I was like, and I was like, well, look, if you booked it, you'll come up with a show. And then it came around, and I hadn't. I had like 15 minutes of material to fill an hour, one character, and I did that. And you know, it was all right because I'd been gigging it on the London circuit, and then I'd be like, bye. After that, and audiences would be like, hey! Luckily, it was usually 2 people, so it would just be, I could deal with that. I'd be like, no, hey is fair enough. Here's your no money back because it was free. But then a friend of mine was like, just so you know, I'm coming down with like some friends. And I was like, I don't know, that's going to be so embarrassing if they come and see it. And I was like, do you know what? Shut up, you idiot, and do some work. And I didn't sleep for like 4 nights, just talking different voices, being like, what could be a character? What could be a character? What could be a character? Like, coming stuff. I'd pick up, this was on like the Monday, and they were coming on the Friday, and each day, I passed a wig shop on the way and tried to do new wig. It rarely fit the character I was doing, just like any wig. And then by the Friday, I had an hour because it's just like application and really, really, really like having a reason to want to do well. Because it's like when you've got like no one in the audience, you're a bit like, what am I doing again? This is so weird. I'm really working hard to just stand in a room and talk to a stranger in character. So, I mean, but also, and that's like its own thing. Like, you know, I'm sure you've sort of seen and experienced this. There are stand-up gigs that you do that are like, you know, a bit looking sort of stand-up comedy, observational comedy. And if you come out and you're doing like a voice or something, they're like, what are you doing? Just make some fucking observations, please. And it's fair enough. Like, I love stand-up so much. It's just I'm not good at I can't do it. Like, I can only do jokes that don't work. That's like all I know how to do. And I've been in situations where audiences have been like, literally like, we know you're not real. Someone once shouted that out. Oh, sorry, no, you're right, you got me, and just like slinking off stage. Like, oh, damn, I thought I'd got them. I used to play a character called Michael Eggwater, I would do live, who was like a 60-year-old lounge singer when I was 23, who were like, we know you're young! Be a better person!
But you could say that to anybody. You could say that to a stand-up. We know that you're not really this funny in real life. We know you're putting on a character. You're heightening your experiences and exaggerating what's happening. You've made this story. Yeah, you made this story much funnier than it was when it actually happened. We know it.
You're heightening your experiences.
Oh dear. Well, look, but it's amazing. But that's like an old school Edinburgh experience. So it's amazing that's happened this century that you've basically written a show. That's what, you know, when we used to go to Edinburgh in the early 90s, we'd sort of start with hardly anything, and by the end of the Fringe, hopefully have something. And I think that's what the Fringe should be. You know, it's amazing that you know, with that impetus and just concentrating that hard for 4 days and driving yourself mad, you can turn something around like that. And then was that the show that then the next year you kind of took up, or was that the show?
Yeah. So that was like I sort of workshopped that, and I tried out a few different characters over the months. Then over that year, I was workshopping the show, and then I took that to like a paid venue and stuff. And yeah, I had laryngitis, which wasn't helped by the fact that one of the 4 characters I did was a spooky nanny whose thing was that she screamed all the time. So that was interesting. But yeah, that was the one where I got all my stuff stolen.
Yeah.
And I went back. So I after that I started exclusively sort of doing this one show a month that I was doing with Cardinal Burns, Dustin Demi Burns, Seb Cardinal, who like I worshipped, and I'd written a couple of sketches for their sketch show around the time I'd done the Anna and Katie one. Because they'd come to see that show like a few days after that wig thing. They happened to be in the audience for the show, like tipped off by my friend Rupert Magendy, who runs Knock Two Bag, which is brilliant, a club night in London, and so Rupert started running a monthly night called Moth Club that I did with Seb and Dustin and Tash and Ellie and guests, and that was like the funnest live experience of my life. Like just doing it monthly kind of thing, and then we took that up to the Fringe, and I just did like a 10-minute slot, and I was like, this is how you do it. 10 minutes. I honestly just feel like talking for an hour is hard. Like I really find like the thing of like keeping people's focus for an hour. Like someone once said to me that all Fringe shows should be half an hour and £5, and I ran to Leicester Square, greatest day, all over again. Yes.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's true of a lot of. I think that is true. A lot of people push themselves and extend themselves too quickly. I think, and I think like it's good to do half an hour before you can do an hour.
So, oh my God, I've seen some exquisite hours. Like there's been some of the best like viewing experiences of my life. I've been watching hours at the Fringe, but a lot the force that you forcing yourself to do an hour is like it's tough going.
It is, and a lot of people have half an hour that they turn into an hour.
Yeah,
it's not just talk half the speed. It's fine.
Oh, have you ever heard that, by the way, about that? Have you heard that? I once heard that. I think it was Les Mis. The orchestra were like getting frustrated by a kind of underpay, and they were like, they were being paid by the hour.
Right.
And they were like, how can we? If they're not giving us a pay rise, slow down the music. So there was like a couple of nights where it was like, I dreamed a dream, and I think it worked. They're now all billionaires.
Is what's coming up? Are you able to say? Is there stuff that you can talk about, or is all top secret?
Is there stuff? I don't think I'm allowed to say any of this stuff. There's nothing like wild. I will say that I started out my career doing some singing. I was in a band, and my live stuff that I did, these Moth Club shows I'm talking about, I'd always do like sort of comedy songs. I was like momentarily a session singer while I was trying to make money in my late teens. And I kind of like flexing that muscle. I really, making the decision between comedy and music is like quite a big one, because it's like, well, you're either going to be really serious or really stupid. And I thought I've got a really big bum and I'm really fall over all the time. So, stupid, please. But the next thing I do, I think, is going to be kind of comedy music related type thing, something that I find quite fun. I always like doing things that I'm like, I think, I don't know, in my experience, like doing Stath has taught me that like an idea that you think could be really, really shit is probably a better thing to do. Because it's like, because the gains are so much bigger. If you're like, this is a bloody brilliant idea, oh yeah, it was great. But if you're like, that's going to be shit, hang on, it was good. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much how I've lived my career. So it's that's been fun. Well, look, whatever comes up next, I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Do watch the After Party. It's on Apple TV.
Yes, Apple TV Plus.
And Stath Lets Flats is all on Channel 4. All four, which is...
and Off the Record was on Dave, I think.
Was it? Okay.
Who knows where it is now? It's hovering around. It'll be in the ether. It's in the street. It's in Leicester Square.
We'll be able to find all of this stuff. That's the beauty of you being so young. Everything is recorded and up somewhere, and we'll be able to find it all. Ladies and gentlemen, give a massive round of applause to the amazing Jamie Demetriou.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Stick around. We've got Samira Ahmed coming next week. You have been listening to RHLSTP with me, Richard Herring, and my guest, Jamie Demetriou. Thank you to Scant Regard for providing the music. I'm indebted to my producer, Ben Walker, and also to Chris Evans. Not that one, or that one, not that one either. Not the Daily Telegraph editor. No, none of the other ones. The one from Go Faster Strike, obviously, you idiot. Thank you very much to everyone at the Leicester Square Theatre for looking after us, and everyone at Acast for looking after us, and for my mummy and daddy for looking after me when I was little. Thank you also to our Kickstarter reward people, who are Lizzie Jones, Anna Kay, Justin Bendon, Repoon Jasing Gula. That's right, Repoon Jasing Gula. Malcolm, James Carter, Lisa A, Phil Maddock, my fan friend Elise, Anon, Tim Nichols, IP Freely, Bex Middleton, Holly Latham, Dr. Belbalon, Matt Taylor, Adam Flowers, Don McCoy, Dan Massey, Christopher Davis, Andrew, Alison Jenner, Stephen Piercy, David Telford, David Toiler on the Sea Kid, Neil Hopkins, Andy Smith, Jacob Watts, Jake Anders, ML, Carla Thiege, Kirsty McLean, Robert B. Parker, Ruth Jack and Rose Turner. This is a Sky Potato Fuzz at GoFasterStripe.com production. Thank you for listening. Go to GoFasterStripe.com and download some of their excellent shows, including all of my stand-up shows, and get their books there. Michael Legg's got a book out there, apparently. That's what I've heard. GoFasterStripe.com for all your comedy needs.